Isn't it an exciting time to be in family justice? We've got so much going on. I've got about 7 minutes to talk to you, and I know Sir Andrew will tell me very politely but very firmly when my 7 minutes are up. So, by way of introduction, who am I? I'm Bernadette MacQueen. My job title says Senior Legal Manager. In effect, that means I have the privilege of being a legal advisor to magistrates, and obviously also sitting in court and with my delegated authority to deal with private law cases primarily. And so what I want to do, we've heard about these wonderful pilots, it's really exciting, but I want to do is give you the picture of what's happening in the rest of the country for those areas that are not having a pilot. Now, I'm going to talk about gatekeeping, which is a very, very strange term. Effectively, it just means what happens to an application when it arrives in the court. But I didn't choose a graphic of a gate because I felt that didn't quite tell the story. So I've gone for a bridge. You will see the bridges change as we go through these slides. And ultimately, let's hope we can get to a situation where we have a really splendid bridge, where we have on one side of the banks, we have lots of different mediation opportunities, lots of different opportunities for people. And only those people who really need to cross that bridge into the court system do that. So that's the vision, that's the dream. But at the moment, we've got a little bit of a bridge which looks a little bit worrying over a canal. So where are we? Well, I've talked about gatekeeping. When a C100 arrives, it arrives in the courtroom. There's no magic to it. It's passed to a legal advisor or a district judge to gatekeep, or as I prefer, bridge keep. Then we will check with things like, is a MyAM completed? That's the mediation information programme that we heard a little bit about this morning. And is that completed? And then what will happen is we will then request the safeguarding letter from CAFCAS. I know many people in the room are authors of those reports, many people from CAFCAS, many practitioners who will know exactly what that involves. But the system we used to have was that safeguarding letter was only received a few days before the FHEDRA, which meant there was really little opportunity to scrutinise really what that application was about. And the matter listed straight for a FHEDRA hearing. So you'll see the graphic on this slide isn't a bridge, it's a sort of a funnel system. And that for me was how it felt with the delays in the courts coming in, the applications coming in and being funneled into this FHEDRA system where there was only a few slots. So we had a bottleneck of cases coming in and cases were just joining the queue. And that led to delays, entrenched parties, and obviously the positions not being able to move on with those delays and ultimately not being in the best interests of children. So we have a situation where the case would come into a FHEDRA and then there'd perhaps be another delay whilst another report was commissioned, a Section 7 report was commissioned. So we weren't really getting to where we needed. So what we've tried at Watford, and this was the pilot that I was very much involved in, was a second gatekeeping appointment. You can see the bridge is slightly better, but it's still nowhere near perfect at this stage. But what we were trying to do at that stage was look at the safeguarding letter, have that early, so request the safeguarding letter once the C100 application had been made, request that early, have a look at what that safeguarding letter was saying, and then triage that case into the appropriate place. So some cases that needed to go to those FHEDRA courts where there was that capability of resolution would go that way, but those that didn't would have effectively have an order made which would direct that. So you can see it's very much an early stage of the pathfinding courts that we've heard so much about today. So that sort of second gatekeeping appointment was where we'd had the Section 7 report which had been ordered, and it allowed the cases to be filtered and triaged through. So there were some improvements. I've put a statistic there. This was from our Watford pilot that we did. The delays for the FHEDRA the hearings were reduced from 21 weeks in September 2019 to 7 weeks in May 2020. Obviously, I was incredibly grateful that we'd started this pilot before COVID really hit, because we were already working in a virtual way, in the sense that those safeguarding letters were coming in, being scrutinised before the court hearing. So that was something that we were able to continue to do. And then obviously the most important thing, that cases that were listed for HEDRA that had the potential to resolve with the assistance of CAFCAS and mediators those were the courts, those were the cases that were going into the FHEDRA, the first hearing dispute resolution appointment. And then those cases that actually had more complicated issues, maybe fact-finding, domestic abuse, were being moved straight into a district judge list at the first opportunity. So there wasn't these multiple hearings. And then right at the bottom of the screen, cases that were more serious, requiring, for example, a Rule 16.4, were spotted early and moved on. So you can see this was a very first attempt at trying to put the cases into the right place, if I can call it that. Obviously, it wasn't a perfect system at all, but it was a start. And that second gatekeeping is now what is happening across the country, in the courts throughout the country. And that's a really exciting improvement. But I think the Pathfinder courts are really where the future lies. And what will happen in those courts, I really am excited to find out. With obviously the Dorset model that we've heard about, with that using the pre-court system, as well as the Welsh model that we've heard about so eloquently this afternoon, with really directing those orders and having those reviews. It's an exciting time to be in family justice, and I wait with anticipation to hear what those reports are. The next slide has got the Golden Bridge, but I'm not going to show you that because we don't know what that looks like yet. Thank you very much.